This is, let me see, this is by way of a little experiment. I've been thinking for a while now of doing some interviews, inviting someone onto my channel. Let me start at the beginning. I've been thinking recently of maybe inviting a guest onto my channel to interview, but I don't know anyone I can interview, not a soul. And I was sitting here tonight, very bored. I've lots of books to read, but I'm not in the humour. I've lots of DVDs and Blu-ray discs, classic films, but I'm not in the humour of watching those. And I've got hundreds of records, very good records, but I'm too bored to be listening to them. And it's just one of those days. And like I say, I've been considering doing interviews, so before I can do that, I have to check that all my software here is working fine, and this is actually going out onto YouTube. So this is by way of a little experiment or a test. And I will make a very brief comment on John Mortis. Now, John Mortis is an Irish author and ex-journalist. He doesn't like being referred to as a journalist because of the total corruption of that particular trade. But and John Mortis, most of you know who he is, but he's Irish, author, writer, thinker, and anti-woke. He's one of Ireland's, I suppose, most prominent anti-woke spokesperson. But he has a thing on Substack, and was it yesterday or this morning? I can't remember. I think it was this morning. I was looking at his latest entry on Substack, and apparently the Gardaí, the Irish police, have been in touch with him. He wrote an article, this is some months ago, and someone has offended someone, and the police wrote to him about possible racist things he might have written in his article, or anti-Semitic comments he might have made. Now, I'm not very good at doing links, and particularly on a live broadcast like this, I don't complicate it at all. So if you want to know the details of what I'm now going to talk about, if you go to John Mortis, if you go to Substack, put in John Mortis IE. If you put in the IE, it means you'll get the Irish John Mortis. So go to Substack, put in John Mortis IE, and you can read his fuller and more articulate account of his contact with the police. Anyhow, the Gardaí have been in touch with him, and that's basically all at this stage. He has exchanged an email with them, but if this is to go somewhere, this is just the very first opening shots. But of course, 90% of the time, 95% of the time, when the police in Britain or elsewhere, or here in Ireland, the Gardaí, if they do contact you because of something supposedly racist or hateful that you've said, most of the time the purpose of the exercise is not to prosecute. The purpose of the exercise is simply to create a climate of fear, to silence people, to cause people to self-censor. Nobody wants the police sort of phoning them up one day or knocking at their door and being invited down to the local police station. No, we're not arresting you, but we'd like you to come down, and if you don't come down, we may have to come and get you. That sort of thing. So, I don't know how this will work out with John Motors. I suspect there won't be any charges. I suspect this is just to cause the man a bit of hassle and maybe a bit of mental distress. But this is the state of our country now. Now, of course, you hear of this every day of the week. Every night I sit down and I go through a lot of YouTube videos, and this is commonplace. But of course, it's a different matter when they come for you. It's one thing reading about this, but actually getting emails or messages from the police, it is intimidating. No matter how resolute you are in standing up against this, most people would find it a bit intimidating. Anyhow, I'm rambling on, I'm waffling on. As I said, this is really just a test video. Just a test live. I don't even know if this is going out. Let me say 6 minutes. Yeah, this is really just a test. To see if everything is working and if I've got this right. But yes, we have. Now, I don't know how John Motors will react to all this. He could do what Enoch Burke did. Now, Enoch, was that name Enoch Burke? Is that the man's name? The teacher in Ireland who is in prison. Now, this teacher, his was it was a different but similar situation. He was asked to call a pupil, I think it was a day, and he was told he had to use a pronoun of the student's choice. He said no. They said you're suspended. And the next day he just ignored the fact he was suspended. His attitude being he was a teacher, he was paid to teach, and that's what he was going to do. So, essentially what he was saying is that he wasn't going to play the game. He was going to live his life, damn the consequences. If he got arrested for turning up at the school, so be it. Now, John Motors could do this. He could simply make it clear to the police that he is not playing the game. He could say or imply the message that do what you want, arrest me, put me in jail. I'll say what I like when I like, and I won't ask permission. So, now I think that's what he should do. But then we'd have two people in prison. Now this Enoch, is that the man's name, Enoch Burke? But this man Burke, anyhow, he's been in prison now for quite a while, and there are no protests, there are no demonstrations, there doesn't seem to be any orchestrated effort to make a big issue of it. Now, if John Motors simply refused to cooperate with the police and he ended up in prison, now we'd have a teacher and a journalist, a prominent teacher and an even more prominent ex-journalist. That might get something going. But yes. I'm going to finish this video very shortly, this broadcast. It's 9 minutes and 43 seconds. Yes. Yes, things are bad in Ireland, and they're only going to get worse. A lot worse. And, in the case of Enoch Burke, he basically decided that, when they told him he was suspended, when they told him he had to use certain pronouns, he decided, in effect, this is the hill I will die on. Now, I think that's what John Waters should do. I think he should basically tell the police, go to hell, it's none of their business, and take a stand. And if he goes to jail, he goes to jail. But, and as I say, that might begin to get something going. I think, if you had a teacher in the jail, and now you have John Waters in jail, I think that might get people thinking. It is, of course, very easy for me to say this, but I've thought about it a lot. And the alternative is to play the game. And this is a game, and I've said this many, many times before, but this is a game you can only win by not playing it. There are some games like that in life. There are some situations in life where the only way you can win the game is not to play it, because the game is stacked against you. The game is stacked against Enoch Burke. The game is stacked against John Waters. And ultimately, the only way you can beat it is not to play the game. And you see, this teacher is in jail, but that wasn't the object of the exercise. The object of the exercise was to make the problem go away. But the problem hasn't gone away. They've got this man in prison. And they would rather he wasn't there, because it could become problematic. Now, in the case of John Waters, as I say, if John Waters, a respected ex-journalist, now there's a lot of people who, well, particularly woke people who don't like him, but there's a lot of, let's say, modern Irish people, diverse people like that. Educated people who want to be modern, they want to be seen as modern and cosmopolitan. Well, a lot of people like that don't like him, because, well, there are certain things you're not supposed to like, and certain things you're supposed to like if you want to be popular and successful in this society. Anyhow, I'm rambling about it a bit, but regardless of what people think of John Waters, I think if John Waters went to jail now, and as usual I'm repeating myself, I'm waffling, but it's a point worth repeating. A teacher in jail, and a prominent and respected, maybe disliked by a lot of people, but some people would respect him. A teacher and a prominent ex-journalist in jail, that wouldn't look good. And that really might get some people thinking, hang on. So, there you are. This is, as I've said, just a very short broadcast. It's really a test broadcast. And I might do something like this once a week. I might do maybe on a Sunday night, just sit down and do a reprise of the week. Talk about the things that have happened in that week. I might do that, or I might, if I can find somebody to interview, I might interview someone. Either way, this is a dry run for that sort of thing. And I really don't have anything to say. The minute I switch this off, I will think of loads of things. And I'll make myself a cup of coffee, I'll have a chocolate biscuit, and I will think of a whole plethora of things. But right now, my mind is just blank. So there you are. Thank you for watching.